Hey, listen, everybody, thanks so much again. On Fridays, as I always say, I've said for 5 years, and I'll say it till my last day in the mayor's office, one of my favorite things to do every week is to highlight heroes in our community, people that are either sworn police and firefighters or members of our community who've done great things, and our great employees at the city of Albuquerque for the great work that they're doing. And today, no shortage of other great stories. So I want to thank all the family members and all relatives and friends and everybody that came, and all the fellow firefighters to help us celebrate today. So we're going to start today with our Friday's Heroes, and then we're going to have our Employee of the Week. Today's Friday's Heroes include Albuquerque Fire Department Lieutenant Edward Nieto, a helicopter pilot from a company called PHI, correct? Air Medicine, named Dave Wortner. Now, Dave couldn't be here today. He's working or off duty. And then Flight Nurse Robyn Libassi, who is with us here today. And we are honoring Albuquerque Fire Department Lieutenant Nieto and the crew of PHI Air Medical for an incident that really could have turned out to be horribly tragic and didn't because of their heroic actions. I'm sure everybody can remember that scary day last April when we could all see a plume of smoke rising from the university area. I saw it from my office, as a matter of fact. Preliminary information reported that there had been a helicopter crash at UNMH Hospital. Back on the ground, we were left wondering, how serious is it, what happened, and was anybody hurt or worse? While we waited for more information, these three individuals, Dave included, that's not here, on the helicopter lived through that horrific incident, and they lived through the chaos, and they were able to keep everyone out of harm's way. So here's the story as it's been told to me. Last April, immediately after liftoff from the University Hospital, a PHI Air Medical helicopter quickly spun out of control. We all saw the video. Lieutenant Nieto, Pilot Dave, and Robyn were all extremely concerned that the helicopter would crash on Lomas Boulevard below, which could result in a really horrific incident. Fortunately, due to the calm demeanor and skilled control by Pilot Wortner, he was able to steer the helicopter to crash into the roof of UNMH Hospital. The strategic maneuvering was paramount to preventing any catastrophic damage or injuries. Although the pilot was able to avoid a crash at street level, the crew was not in the clear just yet. Within a matter of seconds, the entire crew was at serious risk as the engine of the helicopter became engulfed in flames from the burning jet fuel. Pilot Dave Wortner and Lieutenant Nieto both lost consciousness during the crash. Once Lieutenant Nieto regained consciousness, Nurse Robyn Libassi, who is here with us today, alerted Lieutenant Nieto that the helicopter was on fire and that they needed to evacuate immediately. Robyn was able to successfully get off the helicopter and immediately left in search of help. Before exiting the helicopter, Lieutenant Nieto checked on the pilot and found that he had not yet regained consciousness. As the helicopter continued to burn, Lieutenant Nieto unbuckled the pilot and carried him to safety. When the lieutenant lifted the pilot out of the helicopter, he felt extreme pain in his leg, but he thought it was simply a bruise from the crash. Thanks to Robyn's quick action, UNMH security arrived and began to aid both Dave and Lieutenant Nieto. All crew members were then rushed down to the ER below for further evaluation. Later, it was determined that Lieutenant Nieto experienced while rescuing the pain he experienced while rescuing the pilot was in fact multiple fractures to his leg from the crash. Each member of the crew acted with great skill and bravery during this incident, and what could have been just a much, much more horrific accident than it already was saved from being that by heroic action, capability, professionalism, calm demeanor, knowing their job, knowing what they do, knowing that they save other people's lives on a day-to-day basis, and that day their actions save their own lives. So it's a great story of heroism from a tragic accident, and we're very, very proud of everybody. And it just makes us, as a community, understand the dangerous work that's done out there on our behalf every day, and just knowing that when things go bad, that we have professionals and folks in our community that know what they're doing. And they're there for us, and I'm glad they were there for themselves that day. With that, I want to bring Chief Downey up to say a few words about Lieutenant Nieto, and then we'll do some Friday's Heroes coins here. Chief?
Thank you. You never really know in public safety or in EMS, fire, or in law enforcement for that matter, what the day's going to entail. in the fire service, we train on what we call saving our own. It's one of those things where in case one of your own gets in trouble, you're trained on how to extricate and provide care to one of your own into these high stress situations. And that's exactly what this situation was. It was an incident in which we had to save our own. So to Lieutenant Nieto and the flight nurse, congratulations, a team effort. If you hadn't gone to get help, we'd still be struggling to get the pilot out of the aircraft. So it was a big team effort here, and the best outcome we could have gotten in what could have been a horrific incident. So congratulations.
Chief, thanks. So what we do, Robyn, maybe Lieutenant Nieto knows this already, but we commissioned several years ago these Friday's Heroes coins, and they talk about Albuquerque police, fire, emergency management within the city of Albuquerque. It's got the city seal, and it's our token of appreciation to our police officers and our firefighters that go out and do wonderful things. On rare occasion, we give these out to non-sworn as well. Today we're going to be doing that. So I have one for Lieutenant Nieto. Thank you so much. Robyn Libassi, thank you so much for your heroism. And then we want to give one to Dave too. Would you give one to the pilot as well? So thank you all for what you're doing, and we appreciate you very much. So our employee of the week this week is Adrian Olvera. Help me with it.
Olvera.
Olvera. Okay. And Adrian and I have met before because he was the subject of a story not too long ago. Same story, but we had a chance to meet. We talk about our city employees a lot doing things well in their day-to-day jobs, and Adrian is he's an example of that as well. He goes out every day and does a wonderful job on our behalf, takes our taxpayer resources, and provides great services back to us as a community. But so many times during Employee of the Week, we talk about employees going above and beyond, and this story today is exactly that. So today we're honoring Adrian as our Employee of the Week. On an early Tuesday morning, Adrian was on his usual residential recycling pickup route, so he's one of your recycle drivers. Due to the cold weather conditions the previous night, roads and sidewalks in our city were icy. As he was driving, he noticed a gentle lady lying on her driveway, which doesn't generally happen in the middle of the winter. You weren't sunbathing, were you? No. Adrian immediately stopped his truck, and Mrs. Cook is here with us today, and we'll explain what happened. As he was driving, he noticed that Mrs. Cook, turned out to be Mrs. Cook, was laying in her driveway. He immediately stopped his truck to provide assistance, and it became clear that Mrs. Cook was injured. As he approached her, he saw that she was unconscious and cold, obviously. Adrian immediately called over to a neighbor to help him, and together they quickly removed Mrs. Cook from the driveway and got her into her home. As they carried her, Adrian realized that her condition was probably more serious than he may have originally thought. As they waited outside her home, he found some sheets to cover her up and keep her warm. Although she was warm and off the sidewalk, she was still fading in and out of consciousness. So Adrian knew that he had to keep her awake, and he did so by being kind, keeping her calm, and asking questions. He found that the woman's name was Mrs. Cook, and he asked her to talk to him about her family and other things that might be interesting to keep her alert and awake. As he talked to her to keep her conscious, he discovered that her son's name was Paul. And I met Paul as well, and he found his number in Mrs. Cook's cell phone. So he called Paul, he made him aware what had taken place, and he let him know that the paramedics were indeed on their way. Once the paramedics arrived, Adrian left to go finish his pickup route in the neighborhood. He was just doing his job. After he finished his shift, however, he returned to check on the welfare of Mrs. Cook. Paul was there when Adrian arrived back to the house, and he only had time for a quick handshake before Adrian had to get back onto his route. So Mrs. Cook is here today. She is recovering from her injuries. But had Adrian not had stopped, if he had not stopped, her situation certainly could have been much, much worse. And so from Paul's standpoint, Paul's back here. Mr. Cook is with us today as well, sir. Dr. Cook is here, along with Mrs. Cook. We just want to say that we're glad that you would come today and help us celebrate what Adrian has done. We're sorry you had a slip and a fall. That is not good. It's happened in my family as well, and it's always a scary, scary situation. But the fact that Paul then went and made one of our news stations here, Channel 4 does a Pay It Forward, and he made aware of that. So Adrian's been featured on that already, which I think was well deserved. But we also want the rest of the community to know that this is something that happens on a fairly regular basis in the city, and our city employees are always there to go above beyond the call of duty. And with that, I want to have James Mora come up, maybe talk a little bit about Adrian and some of the other great things that he does, and then we have a certificate and some awards for Adrian as well. So James, why don't you come up?
Good morning. Adrian is one of my recycling drivers at the time and is currently a refuge driver picking up the trash in his section. He's a wonderful, great employee. And when this all happened, he did this great deed and he punched out and went home, and nobody in the whole department knew what he did until it was brought to light by Mr. Cook. And I brought Adrian in and I asked him, Adrian, you need to tell folks about this when you do great deeds like that. And he says, no, that's just part of my job and what I do. And again, Adrian, thank you for representing the city of Albuquerque in the solid waste. Well, and Ms. Cook, I'm glad you're feeling okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, James. So Adrian, what we do for our employees of the week, we have a mug that we had commissioned for our employees of the week. We also have a certification for you that talks about being our employee of the week in the city of Albuquerque. And of course, for those of you who know the city, we have almost 6,000 city employees. So I mean, to be the employee of the week, that's a rare breed. So I mean, we have great employees doing great things every day, but that's quite an honor. And then of course we have a letter for your personnel file as well. So hey, way to go, man. We appreciate you very much.